Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, July 5th, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday, Major League Baseball. First up, the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Chicago Cubs. Griffin Canning and Justin Steele are your starters. Don't really love backing either of these teams right now in their current form, but I do think with Justin Steele on the mound, the Angels have really struggled against left-handed pitching. I give the Cubs the advantage here. Steele's in good form after a tough start to the season, which also included an injury. He's now, in his last 5 starts, given up 3 earned runs or fewer in all 5 of those games, so all quality starts because he went 6 innings or more. And the Cubs don't always back him up, in the run support department or the bullpen, but against the Angels here and Griffin Canning, while he's been better as of late, still don't really trust him, especially on the road, where he's 0-6 with an ERA above 5, and this Angels bullpen behind him. So give me the Cubs in this game on the money line and run line. Next up, the New York Mets taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Luis Severino and Paul Skeens are your starters. The Mets have certainly playing better baseball recently than they were at the beginning of the season. However, we saw them get shut out on 4th of July on Thursday. And, they really didn't do much of anything against Jake Irvin, who had 8 innings of 8 strikeout ball. Now you're up against another righty, even Paul Skeens, who's off to an amazing start to his rookie campaign. Even his last game, which was a tough matchup against the Braves on the road, while the Pirates lost that one, he still went 6 innings of 1-run ball with 9 strikeouts. I think Skeens puts together another quality start. The question is, can the Pirates back him up offensively, which they haven't been able to do so in the last couple of games when Skeens has been on the mound. But I think they do here. Severino has been pitching well overall this year, but a little bit inconsistent recently. We saw that last game, 7 innings, but 4 runs given up and a homer. Before that, he was excellent against the Cubs, but before that one, gave up 6 earned runs to the Rangers. So he's kind of been all over the place. I think the Pirates can do enough against Sevy to get a win here for Skeens. So give me the Pirates on the money line. Next up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Washington Nationals. Sonny Gray and Patrick Corbin are your starters. I'm going to go with the under in this one. I would lean towards St. Louis, but for me, I'd rather just take the under because we see Patrick Corbin honestly a lot more competitive on the mound. The last game against the Rays wasn't his best, but he was still just 1 run shy of a quality start, and he's been a lot more competitive out there. The last 4 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in 3 of those 4. The strikeout number's starting to pick it up, and you're facing a Cardinals team that, in terms of the current hitters for St. Louis this year, Corbin's got good career numbers against them, and the Cardinals just have not been great against left-handed pitching this season. That includes the last 30 days where they're near the bottom of the league in OPS and ISO, so it's still a solid matchup for Corbin. Sonny Gray, I expect him to bounce back. He's pitched well overall this year with a sub-3 ERA. Didn't have the best June, but his strikeout stuff's still there, and he has a favorable matchup here against the Nationals offense that has not been the best recently against right-handed pitching. And I'm going to go with the under here in St. Louis. Washington I also like both of these bullpens, especially the Cardinals, so give me the under. Next up, the Chicago White Sox taking on the Miami Marlins. Drew Thorpe and Roddery Munoz are your starters. Roddery Munoz gave up another home run in that last game to the Phillies. While it was still a successful start, and the Marlins actually went on to win that game 3-2, he's now given up 15 home runs in his first 40 to 3rd innings this year. A lot of sharp contact, a lot of extra base hits, and the White Sox numbers offensively starting to improve recently. They had a pretty good series against the Rockies, solid series against the Guardians offensively, and their power numbers aren't as bad as you would think. They're still near the bottom of the league, but they're improving there in isolated power, and I think they can get to Munoz for a few runs. And with Drew Thorpe pitching his best ball of the year, his last 2 starts against weak lineups, but you're facing another weak lineup here in the Marlins. He went 6 innings of shutout ball against the Tigers in a 5-1 White Sox win, and then 6 innings of 2-run ball, so back-to-back quality starts in a 5-3 White Sox victory. So give me the White Sox in this game at a pretty good price on the money line. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the New York Yankees. We're going to see Tanner Houck and Nestor Cortez as your starters. It's the biggest rivalry in sports, and the Yankees have not played too well recently. I know a lot of people are frustrated backing the Yankees recently, and they lost the series against the Reds this week. They split the 4-game series against the Blue Jays in Toronto, got swept in the Subway Series against the Mets, lost the series against the Braves and the Orioles, and these Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park. So it's been a while, since that Kauffman Stadium series against the Royals when the Yankees actually won a series. And Nestor Cortez has been better at Yankee Stadium this year, that's for sure, but I don't really like the way he's pitching. The last game against the Blue Jays, 4 1/3 innings, 3 earned runs, another home run given up. He's given up at least 1 in 3 of his last 5. So while the Red Sox strikeout numbers are through the roof against lefties this year, their power numbers and OPS numbers aren't too bad. So I could see them getting to Cortez. And Tanner Houck's pitching really well, especially on the road. Now, his last game wasn't his best, that's for sure. Probably his worst start of the season. But that was at Fenway Park against a red-hot Padres lineup against righties. San Diego, lowest strikeout rate against righties in the last month. Top 10 in ISO and team OPS. But now you're on the road. Like we said, Houck's got a sub-2 ERA on the road this year. 43 2/3 of 45 strikeout baseball. Much lower opponent's batting average. Only 1 home run given up compared to 4 at Fenway Park. So give me the Boston Red Sox in this game on the money line. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Reese Olson and Carson Spears are your starters. I like both of these starting pitching options, but Reese Olson remains one of the least profitable pitchers in baseball. He didn't have the best June with an ERA just below 6. Now, he bounced back in the last few starts before the end of the month, but the Tigers have only won 3 of his games this year, and a lot of that's because the offense hasn't been there. The bullpen doesn't always back him up, and Carson Spears is in good form. He's pitched pretty well at Great American Ballpark so far, actually really well, with a sub-3 ERA in 22 1/3 innings. It's tough to go against Cincinnati with how well they played at Yankee Stadium. I think they have a much better lineup, and I think the bullpens are pretty similar, but I honestly would give the edge to Cincinnati there, so give me the Reds on the money line in this one. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Cleveland Guardians. No official starter for San Francisco. We do see that with a few games for Friday's card with teams not having an official starter, but Tanner Bybee should be going for the home team. I like the under in this game. I think we're going to see a pretty low-scoring series, honestly. I like both of these bullpens. Cleveland's bullpen, I think, is the best in baseball. The Giants' bullpen is one that I'm looking to improve. I think it's going to improve as the season goes along, as the expected numbers are sharp, the third best xFIP in baseball. So, even if this is a bullpen kind of game for San Francisco, I think they'll be fine. Tanner Bybee, while he's not been great at Progressive Field, his last start at home was against the Mariners back on June 19th. It was one of his best starts, not of just the season, of his career. 6 innings of 12 strikeouts, shutout baseball, and an 8-0 Guardians win. Now, Progressive Field's been a lot more hitter-friendly this year than it has been in years past, and that's because of some renovations in the outfield. But I still think we go under the total in this game in the end. Tough for me to choose a side right now with no official starter for San Francisco, so we'll wait and see who they decide to go with, but give me the under right now. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves. Big-time NL East rivalry. We got the Aaron Nola-Max Fried matchup that we saw at the beginning of the season. We got 2 great starting pitchers. However, that first game at the beginning of the year was not a pitcher's duel. It was a very high-scoring game. And, Aaron Nola struggled mightily, gave up 6 earned runs. Fried wasn't able to get out of the first inning. His control was way off. I honestly think Max Fried wasn't 100% in terms of his injury, because he also went on to struggle against the Diamondbacks, going 4 1/3 of 7 earned run baseball in the next game. But after that start, he has been much, much better since then. And it's why his ERA is at 2.91, but it's so impressive because of the first 2 games, giving up in 5 innings 10 earned runs in the first 2 starts of the season. His ERA was 18 through his first 2 games. To see him pitch this well the rest of the way and have that sub-3 ERA, really, really impressive stuff. And but the Phillies missing some key bats in this, at least at the beginning of this series. It's tough to get there with Philadelphia with Aaron Nola didn't really have the best June. He was better as the month went on, but to me, the Braves, I think this is one of their best chances in this series to grab a win. You got your ace on the mound. Aaron Nola, like I said, a little bit shaky recently. Now, Nola last year pitched pretty well against the Braves, actually. He faced them quite a few times, both in the regular season and the postseason, had pretty good starts against them. But that first game of the year went 4 1/3 innings, 7 total runs, 6 of those were earned, 2 home runs, and 11 base hits in that 12-4 Braves win. I got to go with Atlanta in this one on the money line. Next up, the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Texas Rangers. No official starter again for the Rays in this one, but Michael Lorenzen should be going for Texas. I've mentioned that Lorenzen's been tough to read this season. He's got good numbers on paper. The expected numbers are not very good, though. I think the Rays can get to him for a few runs, and this Rays bullpen has really improved from a tough start to the season. I like the Rays in this game, honestly. I think they find a win. We'll have to wait and see who the official starter is, but Lorenzen, while he's pitched well, the Rangers are still 1-4 in his last 5 games, and those were against tough teams, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Brewers, the Orioles. However, the Rays are starting to be a tough team right now. They've really improved their game since a tough start to the year. So give me the Rays in this game on the money line. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Colorado Rockies. Cole Ragans and Kyle Freeland are your starters. I've mentioned many times that I really like Cole Ragans' game. I think he's one of the better young pitchers in baseball. However, I can't deny this is a pretty brutal spot for the Royals and for Ragans. A young starter making his Coors Field debut. He's never pitched at Coors Field. And he is a lefty. The Rockies have hit lefties pretty well in the last month. You got Kyle Freeland on the other side. Is after the injuries, pitched pretty well in his first 2 starts back. One of those was at home, one of those on the road. The home game against the Nationals, 6 innings of one-hit baseball. We know Freeland's got plenty of Coors Field experience. And, the Royals actually dead last in baseball in isolated power against lefties, near the bottom of the league in team OPS against lefties in the last month. So not a great matchup there. You got the fact that the Royals were in Kauffman Stadium on Thursday against the Rays, while the Rockies get to stay home after their Coors Field series with the Brewers. And a lot of the times we see, teams come into Coors, the Brewers or the Rockies get the benefit of staying at home. They do pretty well in those series openers. So for me, as much as I've mentioned how much I love the Royals this year, I've got their win total over, futures on them to win the AL Central. This is a brutal spot for them. I got to go with the Rockies on the money line. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Minnesota Twins. No official starter for Houston, but Pablo Lopez should be going for Minnesota. One of the big reasons why I say the Twins are so dangerous was because they were winning games. They were about a 500 team at the beginning of the year, despite their rotation not really doing too well. We know Bailey Ober had a tough start to the year, and of course Pablo Lopez, an ERA above 5. Now it's at 4.88, so still pretty rough on paper, but he's starting to find his game. The lineup is red hot, and the bullpen is also picking it up. So this is a really dangerous Twins team, in my opinion. Lopez, like I said, his ERA was in the mid-5s, but the last 2 starts, 14 innings combined of 23 strikeout baseball with only 1 run given up. 2 of his best starts we've seen him have in a long time, and those are, of course, both victories for Minnesota. The Twins have now won each of his last 4 games. I think the Twins win this game. We'll have to see who the Astros go with on the mound, but I like the Twins in this game, and I like their chances in this series as well. Next up, the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the San Diego Padres. We're going to see Slade Cecconi and Randy Vasquez as your starters. Now, Slade Cecconi, ERA right now at 5.81 overall, but he's on the road. Excellent. 40 innings of work, a 3.35 ERA. Randy Vasquez, overall this season, ERA just below 5 at 4.88. However, he's been a lot better at home at Petco Park. We're in 25 and a third innings, 3.55 ERA. So both of these pitchers in a pretty good matchup in terms of the splits, but I think that the Padres have a much better lineup in this game, and I also trust their bullpen a lot more. So that's why I'm going to side with San Diego in the end. I could also lean towards the under as well, but I do think the Padres find the win in the end. When you look at Arizona's bullpen, near the bottom of the league in terms of ERA and expected numbers, San Diego's bullpen a lot deeper in my opinion, but also the expected numbers pretty solid. 11th in xFIP, 3.88 ERA, not too shabby. Give me San Diego in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Oakland Athletics. Albert Suarez and Hogan Harris are your starters. For me, this is the game that the Athletics would have the best chance at winning, in this series. And it doesn't really say much because I still like the Orioles on the run line, in the end. But I could see the path of Oakland competing in this game because Albert Suarez, while he's pitched well, there are some regression concerns when you look at the expected numbers. His strikeout numbers are pretty low right now. And, I could see Oakland finding a few runs off him. And Hogan Harris has also pitched pretty well on paper. However, his expected numbers are also not great. The Orioles have not been amazing against left-handed pitching, but this is still a potent lineup. So for me, I still think the Orioles find a way to win this game. I think they have the big-time lineup advantage, big-time bullpen advantage. And like I said, Oakland, I may compete a little bit more in this one than the rest of the series, but in the end, I still expect the O's to grab the win and the run line cover. So give me Baltimore on the run line, but a game I'll be staying away from. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Seattle Mariners. Kevin Gausman and Luis Castillo are your starters. Kevin Gausman's been much better on the road than he's been at Rogers Center this year. About an even 44 to 46 inning split between his home and road games this season. And at home, an ERA at 7.19, on the road down to 2.22 with a 5-2 winning record and a 201 opponent's batting average compared to 318 at home. So he's just been way better on the road. I trust him more in this spot. The Mariners' offense has not been great in the last 30 days, and I could see Gausman putting together a bounce-back start. Castillo has really just struggled everywhere in the last few games. Even at home, his last one against the Twins, 3 earned runs, 6 base hits, gave up an early run in that one. He only had 3 strikeouts through 5 innings. The previous start on the road against the Rays, 4 earned runs and 5 1/3. The previous start to that one at Progressive Field, 5 earned runs, 2 home runs. So the Mariners are now 1-4 in his last 5 starts. He's supposed to be the ace of this rotation. He hasn't really looked like it recently. I'm going to go with the Blue Jays in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Freddie Peralta and Tyler Glasnow are your starters. This is a brutal spot for the Brewers. Not only did they play a 4-game series at Coors Field, but they don't get a day off in between. They played on Thursday. They didn't even play an afternoon game on Thursday. They played a night game, 8 o'clock Eastern. So you don't even get the extra few hours to adjust to that new altitude. And you have to face one of the best teams in baseball in the Dodgers, one of the best starting pitchers in baseball in Tyler Glasnow. And, for me, I just got to go with LA, lay the 1.5 and potentially 2.5 or more runs in this game. Peralta has been, recently a lot better than what he was towards the beginning of the month of June. However, he also faced the Angels, the Rangers, and the Cubs in those last 3 starts. When you look at those teams in terms of team OPS, you got the Rangers ranked 28th, the Cubs ranked 22nd, the Angels a little bit better, right around league average, but still, he's had a pretty weak strength of schedule recently. I think the Dodgers can get to him for a few runs. I think the Dodgers win this game going away. So give me the Dodgers on the run line. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.